Cops subreddit. What is the most suspicious thing you've ever caught somebody doing for a totally legitimate reason? Prior US Coast Guard. We were doing a security boarding on a vessel planning on entering port with some hazardous cargo. Me and one other guy are in the engine room, making sure everything is kosher, when we catch a glimpse of some boots barely sticking out from under a piece of machinery. Since, as far as we knew, all crew were present and accounted for above deck, we were understandably concerned. We radio up asking about it, get told all present and accounted for up above. So we are thinking stowaway or someone being smuggled. Luckily it was neither, just a dude who legit fell asleep while doing some maintenance. He shared a name with one of the other crew, so that's how we missed his absence. Apparently our guy up above checked the same guy twice. Go fig. Imagine the state of confusion that guy was in. Falls asleep doing maintenance work on some machinery and is woken up by the Coast Guard. Hey, you're finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right? Walked right into that Imperial ambush, same as us, and that thief over there. Not a cop, but do work in law enforcement. This is part of more elaborate story. At one point, while in jail, suspect 1 told the suspected hitman that if he took a deal he wouldn't get paid. Everyone freaked out, as this was clear confirmation #1 had hired #2 for a killing a suspected. After much investigation they were both innocent, just a series of really dumb things and belligerence toward officers preventing explanations. Turns out the comment was because genius #1 had the idea to sue everyone for his arrest and was trying to say that if #2 took a plea deal he wouldn't be able to get in on the lawsuit. How does that work? I've always wondered if you could sue for damages if you were to be arrested under suspicion for something you literally had no involvement in. It can still affect your personal professional life and get you labeled as the guy that got arrested. I don't think arrests stay on your record in Illinois anyway, but there are many instances of people suing and winning for unlawful imprisonment if they were found to be innocent after or during serving time in prison. My grandfather was the only police officer in a one-stoplight town in Ohio in the 1960s. His favorite story to tell was the time he got a call for suspicious behavior at the local ice cream parlor after hours. He pulled up to see a young boy on the ground who looked like he was bleeding badly, and he was weirded out by the overwhelming smell of cherries. And he saw another police officer inside. Turns out the children of the owners were making a home movie of themselves playing cops and robbers. The blood was cherry syrup for the ice cream, and the other officer was the brother, saving the owner of the ice cream shop from robbers. That was their sister. The kids made him a sundae for his troubles and promised to call if they were going to film a sequel. I see a lot of not police officers in here. Sorry, I just thought my grandfather's story was really sweet. He passed away 25 years ago, so no way he can log on to tell it. This was really sweet and funny. Thanks for sharing that story. It's really great. Was a cop and cops and robbers game. Caught one of my friends eating what appeared to be my snacks, but he just happened to have the same type. Finally, a response from an actual cop. Ah, good old cops and robbers. When I was a kid we just assumed they shot everyone for everything. My dad once overheard us playing. One of my friends had leaned his bike up against a fence and I said, "That's not a bike parking space, move your bike now, or I'll be forced to shoot." He answered, "What? That doesn't make sense." I responded, "Bang bang bang. You're dead, lawbreaker." My father walked up and said, "Cops write tickets and stuff. They don't just shoot everyone for everything." I asked, "What if you refuse to pay the ticket?" He responded, "That would be crazy. What, do you want to get shot?" I thought cops and robbers was a game where you tackle the robbers and take them to jail, and then the other robbers have to get them out and have at least one robber outside of jail for 10 minutes. Back when Pokemon Go first came out I used to go out after 8 PM when I was done with work and stay out playing until like 5 to 6 AM. One night at like 4 AM I was standing in an alley next to a gym that I was fighting, and a cop pulls up next to me and asks what I'm doing. I told him I was fighting a gym and showed him on my phone. He just sort of chuckled and told me to have a nice night and drove off. How did you get your phone battery to last 8 hours with the app up after you've been at work all day? I work from home, so it was fully charged when I left my apartment, and I had several portable USB chargers I would use. You, sir, have the mind of a true detective. Anyone who was dedicated enough to play 10-hour sessions is going to have backup batteries. Come on bro. Not a cop, but a story from when I was a student. I used to do work at one of the university's experimental farms. It was a 4-hour drive from my place and I usually left my house early to avoid traffic. So there I'm at 4 AM loading gardening tools and bags of fertilizer wrapped in black plastic to avoid spills in my car when the cops roll up. Turns out the security guard in our apartment complex saw me load a shovel and some heavy black bags and legitimately thought I'd killed someone and was on my way to dispose of the body. Had to open the bags to prove it was just fertilizer. The cops had a good laugh driving away. I mean, a dead body would count as fertilizer. These are just yard trimmings. At around 2 AM on a weeknight, I see a guy bolt from a house in a quiet residential burglary hotspot. His face is covered, he's wearing sunglasses or something similar and the kind of dark clothing you catch burglars in. As I follow him and start to shout up on the radio, the car's parked between us clear, to reveal he is running behind the tiniest dog I've ever seen, a clearly uncontrollable pooch that is having the time of its life. I just kept going. Tiniest dog, that's the dog I'd use if I wanted to avoid suspicion, rob stuff, and then run off with the dog in my pocket. He fell for the oldest trick in the book. He fell for one of the classic blunders. Never start a land war in Asia. My husband told me a story of one time when he was patrolling around and he spotted a guy who was in a straitjacket come round the corner of town that he was patrolling. Instantly suspicious. He ran over and grabbed him and asked him what he was doing. He said he was just messing around with it with a friend, but he lost his friend and can't get out. So my husband asked to call his friend just in case, and lo and behold he wasn't even lying. Just helping you out for next time. Straitjacket lo and behold, lo and behold. Lo and behold, you learned something new everything. I think I'm gonna have a strong after reading this. Straitjacket, even if that's right. I'd accept straitjacket, I don't even care. My cousin is a cop and told us the story of seeing a car driving slowly at about 3 AM through a neighborhood that had had several break-ins. He thinks to himself that they're looking for a target, so he puts on his lights and pulls them over. He walks up and the driver puts the window down and she turns to look at him with fire in her eyes and says, in a harsh whisper, "This had better be important, because I just got the baby to sleep." He looks in the back, and there's a baby in a car seat, sound asleep. The memory of what it was like when his babies wouldn't sleep rushes back, and he says, "Oh no, I'm so sorry, never mind," and goes back to his car. She drives away slowly. He's just glad he didn't wake the baby. Not a cop, but most geocachers have stories about run-ins with police for looking suspicious. It does seem odd. At my parents' house we kept seeing different people going through the bushes across the street from them and couldn't figure out why. Finally asked one of them one time and that's what they said. I don't know much about it, so I wonder what it is they find, or if it's just the rush of finding something that drives them. It is the rush, trust me. Speaking of which, I need my next kick. I did a CTRLF, looking for this. Yes, caches can frequently look suspicious. Luckily, an explanation with a look at your phone GPS will clear things up. One time me and my partner rolled up on 3 individuals, 2 adults, 1 kid who looked as though they were trying to break into a vehicle. As we talked to them, the lead guy went into an overly complicated explanation that at the time didn't make sense. We ran them in just to verify their identities and if they had any priors. To our surprise, it was the local minister and his relatives. They have always given generously to our athletic department amongst other things. I guess one of their congregation had asked if they would help get into their vehicle due to having lost the keys. Boy, did we feel foolish afterwards. I mean, it sounds like it looked suspicious enough to find out more. Not a cop, but had a funny encounter with one. Some friends and I were driving around a Home Depot at the height of the Pokémon and Go phase. We're driving really slow around the parking lot and around the back of the store at like 2 AM, and a cop car pulls me over behind the building. "Officer, what are you doing here? This is private property and the store is closed." We were just playing a game. Well, leave. Sorry to waste your time, sir. Officer, wait. You wouldn't happen to be playing Pokemon, right? Me, we are. Officer, awesome. Add me. And that's the time I added a cop as a friend on Pokemon Go. We still had to leave though. My dad isn't a cop, but always loved to keep an eye out for suspicious activity and try to keep the neighborhood safe. He worked to get extra stop signs and speed bumps installed near a park and things like that. Would stay up listening to his police scanner while watching cops. One morning he was up early before 5:00 AM having his coffee and noticed a suspicious van driving slowly through the neighborhood. It was stopping in front of nearly every house. He got in his car, followed it from a distance, and called the cops. They told him to stop following and go home, and they would check it out. He called the cops on the newspaper delivery guy. Not a cop, but when I was younger and didn't know what curfew was, I was hanging out around a local gas station. I was just wanting some soda at like 2 AM. It was a summer night, and I was thirsty. Cop pulls up seeing a young teen in a hoodie pacing outside the gas station, and I explained to him that I was just there for a soda and that the sign said they should still be open, but they weren't. I was thinking they were in the back room and was waiting for them to come out. Cop explains to me what curfew is and then has my dad drive over to pick me up and take me home. Worst part? Never got my soda. So I'm not a cop, but a couple of days ago me and my friend who is a boy BTW, we are out in town just walking when he pulls me into an alleyway. I have no idea what he is doing, so I try to wrestle away, scared he's going to like pour food on me or something. Yes, that is what I assumed. So an officer come over because it looks like my friend is trying to kidnap me. Turns out my friend kind of was, because he was going to blindfold me and take me to my surprise birthday party. But my friend has to explain that to the cop, so the surprise was kind of ruined, but at least we had a story to tell. I'm not a cop, but we had 8 sheriffs, 2 from the city PD that my address is in, and a cop from the neighboring town, all in my yard, because 2 drug users went to the neighboring county and stole a car from town down there and drove up to our house, which is in the country, and drove through our yard, through the woods, and got the vehicle stuck. Both of them got caught in the end, and of course 2 of the sheriff deputies had to be pulled out by our tractor because it has been raining for weeks and they got themselves stuck. This was just this past Monday.